The Nomia Ndlovu case is nearing the end, with judgment expected next Friday. The former police officer is charged with 3 counts of murder. She's accused of getting relatives killed to cash in on life insurance policies. The case has put tremendous attention on insurance fraud. So how prevalent is it, and what type of oversight and regulations are available in the industry? One would ask how one person was able to take out so many policies and be a beneficiary so many times without questions being asked. So let's discuss this with the Deputy Ombudsman for Long-Term Insurance, Denise Gabriels. Denise, thank you for making time. What kind of complaints, let's start with this one first, the kind of complaints that you've been receiving as the Ombudsman's office in relation to COVID-19 insurance claims?
Afternoon, thank you for having me. We've been receiving a lot of claims declined complaints, and then also about poor service from and delays in paying claims.
Yeah.
Since the COVID-19 epidemic, we've seen a huge increase in complaints, obviously. So, in fact, in the first half of this year, we received 48% more claims than we did in the first half of last year, over the same period. And what we are seeing is that a lot of those are about funeral policies, and then also credit life policies.
Yeah. Let's talk about then the corruption, Denise, that we are seeing when it comes to insurance policies. One of the things that are surprising many is how, for instance, Nomia Ndlovu was able to take so many funeral policies and be a beneficiary so many times. Is one person allowed to take out funeral policies for third parties? And how many people can one cover? Is there a limit?
So it varies from insurer to insurer, and sometimes product to product at an insurer. We've seen cases of an insurer allowing up to 10 or sometimes even 15. In fact, one case we know of is where an insurer allows up to 21 dependents to be covered under one policy. One has to have insurable interest in the members that you are covering under a policy. And that's often described as a relationship between the policyholder and the person they cover. And the insurer specifies the certain categories or classes of people that they're allowed to cover under those policies. I don't think there is a specific limit that you can have on the number of lives that you cover or the number of policies that you can take. But it does speak to the question of insurable interest. If, and in this very sad case, there probably was some insurable interest. It's just a really, truly sad case where, even family members were allegedly murdered.
Have you dealt with similar cases before? I mean, how is fraud usually done?
So fraud in the insurance industry, unfortunately, is not a new thing. And it's not the first person that's been tried. I think there was recently a psychiatrist who was released from jail for murdering his wife at the time, and that was probably about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
For insurance money. So it's not, regrettably, not something new. But this case does highlight it now, and apparently, according to the insurers, over the COVID period or since the COVID period, the fraud has increased tremendously.
Yeah. Do you think there are enough protections in place against fraudsters? Because sometimes, insurance companies are just thinking about them making a buck, right? These are people that are bringing in money by enlisting and insuring their relatives or their loved ones. And sometimes you wonder if they've put in stringent protection measures against fraud, or do they just think about their interests at the time and not really following the laws and the processes to the latter to ensure it's not just so easy to, be fraudulent?
Yeah, it's a difficult question. I think one of the measures that has been proposed before, which hasn't been implemented, was that the person whose life is covered is required to give consent and sign for that, that they're aware of that cover. And I'm not sure that that is followed. The insurer requires insurable interest, but they're not necessarily requiring each and every person whose life is covered to give consent to their life being covered. That may be one measure of, protecting people against such fraudulent acts. But yeah, sometimes when, criminals find a way around things.
Yeah.